and welcome back to the podcast that must not be named. I am Luke.
Melissa here.
And we are here doing Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Chapter 11, The Firebolt. This chapter was 22 pages, and that is 7.12% of the book.
And now, a voice of the Imaginary Legion.
Chapter 11, Blazing Fast Broom. At the beginning of the chapter, Harry is still reeling from learning that Sirius Black was responsible for his parents' death. He hardly slept that night, thinking of Sirius Black and the Dementors. The next morning in the common room, Ron and Hermione try to explain to Harry that seeking revenge on Sirius Black is a very dangerous idea. When Ron suggests activities to distract Harry and change the subject, Harry decides a visit to confront Hagrid with the truth about his parents is a good idea. The trio traipse to Hagrid's cabin to find him emotional and crying about a letter he received from the school governors. Acting on a complaint from Lucius Malfoy, the governors decided to order a hearing for Buckbeak with the Committee for the Disposal of Dangerous Creatures. Hagrid, believing the committee has it in for the Hippogriff, is beside himself. Harry, Ron, and Hermione tried to convince Hagrid to develop a strong defense and have hope that he can prove Buckbeak isn't dangerous, even if he did draw blood when he scratched Drago. They continue to comfort Hagrid with conversation and tea, and then Hagrid starts to talk about his time at Azkaban. Harry decides this is not the time for talk of confrontation or revenge. Christmas soon approaches, and Harry finds a pile of presents on his bed Christmas morning. A sweater from Mrs. Weasley, sweet treats to eat, and a brand new broomstick, the Firebolt. Broom of his dreams, given by an anonymous gifter. Harry and Ron discuss who would possibly give such a generous gift to Harry. Then Hermione comes in warning Harry not to ride it yet. When Crookshanks the cat attacks Scabbers the rat, Harry notices the rat appears to be thin and strangely losing his hair. Although Ron believes it is due to stress, Harry can't help but feel the rat might be dying. That afternoon, lunch in the Great Hall was set for a single table of 12. Professors Dumbledore, McGonagall, Snape, Sprout, Flitwick, Mr. Filch, 2 first years, a 5th year, and our 3 main characters. As they begin to dine, Professor Trelawney joins the group. She panics at first at the idea of 13 at the table. Nothing more unlucky, you know. It is soon shared that Professor Lupin is ill again, and Trelawney informs the group she had foreseen he will not be with us for long. His time is short. Dumbledore reveals that Snape has made a potion for Lupin. Again. At the end of dinner, Hermione requests an audience with Professor McGonagall, while Harry and Ron return to the Gryffindor dormitory. The boys are admiring the Firebolt when Hermione comes in with Professor McGonagall. The professor tells the boys Hermione told her about the mysterious broomstick, and she takes the broom from their hands. Upon finding that there was no note or card, she promptly confiscates the broom to check for jinxes. Harry is furious upon finding out his prized new broom will have to be stripped to be declared jinx-free. The boys turn on Hermione after Professor McGonagall leaves with the Firebolt, and they demand an explanation. A pink-faced Hermione explains she believes the broom was sent by none other than Harry's godfather, Sirius Black.
So it looks like we don't really have any new characters or location introductions in this chapter.
None that I saw, which
we're just kind of
it's a little disappointing sometimes, isn't it?
Well, and then part of me is like, well, it makes sense. We're just hanging out in the castle.
Right. It's definitely more realistic. It's Christmas. We're not doing anything, just hanging out. I agree. So it's not
I'm
odd.
A big fan of not doing anything.
I'm pretty good at doing nothing, which by that
You're
means
not.
basically doing as many things as I can in my hashtag free time.
Yeah, no. See, you're not good at doing nothing.
By doing nothing means I'm doing things that I actually want to do, which things like this.
The non requirement as opposed to.
Yeah.
Got it. There were some magicabulary that we hit in this chapter. And actually, there was one that we missed.
We did. Last chapter, dung bombs was introduced. We missed it. It was in the conversation of finding the Marauders map, set up dung bombs in Filch's office to kind of create a distraction. So we missed it there, but got it now. One chapter later, not bad. Not a bad. I feel
like dung bombs are probably a very useful tool.
I would say that's a pretty good distraction tool for sure.
I really hope, though, that nobody sets them off in my classroom.
Yeah.
I think that would be a problem.
They sound terrible. Like, that really does sound terrible.
Oh my gosh. All right. So we also heard about peppermint toads.
Yeah, that sound delicious.
See, I'd rather have a chocolate frog.
I'll take both. Just one after the other. Just combo. That sounds awesome.
Like, take them and smash them together and bite off both their heads at the same time and have a chocolate peppermint frog toad?
Yes. I was going to go toad frog, but yeah.
I went alphabetical.
Yeah, totally reasonable. It sounds delicious.
It does, actually. We had the Committee for the Disposal of Dangerous Creatures.
Yeah, they sound like a fun bunch.
The CDDC.
Right?
In my head, it has to be shortened because just trying to read that title, there are so many articles and prepositions and adjectives. I was like, nope, CDDC.
Yeah. Just get the big letters in there.
Yep. Something that you might actually need to use the CDDC for would be the manticore.
Yep. Which is a real life mythological creature, not a JK.
Real fake creature.
Yeah, it's an implementation of a true mythological character.
a pre-created something.
Yes.
Something.
And I'm looking it up as to what it actually is because I can't remember.
It's Greek, I believe.
It is early Middle Persian.
Oh, sorry.
It's similar to an Egyptian sphinx. It has the head of a human, body of a lion, and tail of poisonous spines similar to porcupine quills.
That just sounds lovely.
Sometimes it has the tail of a scorpion, it sounds like.
Okay, changed my mind. I want one of those stuffed on my hat.
Yeah, they're pretty vicious. That's for sure.
All right. Any other vote magicabulary there, Lucas?
We have the first name of Sybil Trelawney, which I guess could have gone under character introductions, but it's just a first name for a character we've already gotten, so kind of goes either way on that one.
I'm going to say that is a disorganization by you. I would have put that under characters, but I'm giving it to you.
It should have, and I was trying to justify it here, realizing my mistake as we're speaking.
Well, I appreciate that you admit it. How about some illustration discussion?
Look, so this is chapter 11, the Firebolt, and I think it's a pretty clear depiction of the chapter title.
Said Firebolt.
Right.
It looks pretty shiny. Do you think it really comes with all of the mist and sparkles surrounding it the whole time, or is that just upon opening?
I think upon opening. There's just a couple extra, sparkle bombs, implanted in the box. You unwrap it and just poof, magic. There it is.
Okay, can you imagine a good use of a sparkle bomb? To me, it would be something I would put in somebody's desk drawer. They'd open up, poof, sparkle bomb, and there's glitter everywhere. That would. Maybe I have quite a slightly twisted view of what a sparkle bomb would be for.
Do not do that at my house. I can't stand glitter. Because it doesn't leave. It doesn't ever
Exactly.
leave. It's the most vicious thing I think you could think of. So either give me a cat or give me that if you just never want me to talk to you again.
Okay, ladies, so you know.
There you go. If you're trying to get rid of me, easy 1-2 punch right there.
And glitter bombs.
Or a glitter cat. There you go.
A shedding glitter cat?
Please do not send me glitter cats.
A shedding glitter cat. I feel like Luke needs his own I can't even think of the word.
I can stop the recording now. We can start over. Just so
a mascot. That's it. Luke's mascot is the glitter cat.
That's
shedding.
That's just
glitter
easily
cat.
Representative of me, of my whole persona. That's
right.
Just fits.
Luke, the shedding glitter cat.
Man, you guys. You've never known me this well. I feel like you finally know me.
I'm so happy. Yay!
But yeah, so the illustrations of Broom.
Oh yeah, Broom. Whatever. It doesn't really sweep.
I guess it could.
Yeah, but Firebolts are expensive. Can you imagine spending that much money to sweep?
I did buy a robo vacuum, so I guess technically it's spending a lot of money for a similar thing, but it's
No, I have no problem. I have no problem with you spending money.
Ungodly
But my
amount
point is,
for
I have no problem with you spending money on something that was specifically designed to do that. Robo vacuum, go for it.
yeah.
But a flying broom who is for all intents and purposes designed just to fly, and then you just use it to sweep.
Yeah, I'm not buying a fighter jet and using the tailwind off of it to blow the dust out of my house.
Right.
It would work. It would do the job. It's not the right application for the right tool.
Yes, I'm going to go with that.
Okay, so it looks like we both have a good amount of notes here. It's nice to see.
Wait, we're supposed to take notes on these things?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay, here we go.
All right, so let's get it kicked off with your first note there. What do you got?
Okay, so I get how at the beginning of the chapter, Harry is there and he's upset that no one, not Dumbledore, not Hagrid, not Mr. Weasley, not any of them had told him that his parents died because of their best friend. Right? So he's like totally mad. This was their best friend and nobody told me and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Teenage angst ensues, but whatever. Except I feel like he maybe needs to hold off on blaming Mr. Weasley just a little bit because this goes back to that original scene. It's very possible Mr. Weasley could have wanted to and even maybe thought Harry had overheard some of this information, but he doesn't know what Harry knows from that conversation.
And Harry cut him off and didn't give him a chance to
tell him what Mr. Weasley wanted him to know.
Yeah.
So
I think you're exactly right. I didn't think about that in this chapter, but I completely agree with you. Like looking back at how Harry cut Mr. Weasley off and didn't even give him a chance to say like, hey, this is what I think you should know. Harry was just like, and I agree with what Harry did also. Hey, you didn't break your word to the minister because I'm telling you what I know. And that was just, okay, well, since that's the route we're going, that's good.
I just think it's a really good example of how some misunderstandings can can have long-term consequences. So Mr. and Mrs. Weasley were talking. We don't know if we heard the beginning of the conversation. We don't know how long they had been talking, and they don't know what all Harry overheard. But instead of taking a moment to sort of clarify, what do you know? Okay, here's like more information. And Mr. Weasley and Harry just both assumed that the other had heard everything they were supposed to. Harry assumed he had heard everything he needed. Mr. Weasley assumed that Harry had heard everything he needed, but it's very possible there was some information not relayed.
Yeah.
And now look, here we are.
It's a pretty classic miscommunication based off of wrong assumptions thing. Like happens all the time.
Exactly. And nobody's wrong. Like it's
you
not
just
like
both
somebody
are
made a mistake.
You both have different assumptions in the conversation, and then you miscommunicate what the other's intention was because of that different base that you're starting from.
But here we are 7 chapters later.
And you see one of the fallouts of that.
Yes.
Potentially.
Potentially. And it's very possible Mr. Weasley had absolutely no intention whatsoever at all of letting Harry know any of that. It's possible Mr. Weasley didn't even know that information.
Right.
But to hold it against him in the collective everybody, like, give him
a little short-sighted by Harry here.
Again, 13 so it makes sense.
Right, yeah. Very good on characterization. It's a growing potential. It's a growing moment. Right. If he would hear this conversation at that point, maybe he could learn from it.
Right. So going on about Harry sort of ranting and raving, Hermione and Ron try to sort of take the route of arguing with him of, Sirius Black, he's not worth dying for. I really don't think that's the best angle to take for someone who would be attacking the person who made the person who loves them die in order to save him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's absolutely somebody that would be worth dying.
Right.
Against.
Like, leading into that conversation, I really like the Ron and Hermione regarding confronting him, like kind of discussing it beforehand to be like, all right, 1, do we do this? 2, how do we do this? Like, because clearly they came in with almost like a scripted thing. And I don't know, I think think they misinterpreted, or they just didn't judge where he would be correctly.
Well,
maybe they knew where he was going to be, but I don't think they took a great route knowing him.
I agree. And I think, I'm glad they said something. I'm glad they had, a double team on him. And you never know where somebody's going to come out swinging, what they're going to attack. But I think I would have come up with I would have had a couple of, okay, we need some reasons why he can't go do this. More than just, it's not worth killing yourself. Because, Harry's whole world is about stuff like that. So,
right. And he already feels cornered. He's got no one that he can talk to about this right now. And he feels betrayed already. So, confronting him, the right answer. Calling him out late. I don't know. It's... I don't know, a little, it seemed like a poor choice, the way that it went. Maybe that's hindsight on it as well, but they know Harry's fairly rash. So.
I just don't think they should, have said, he's not worth dying for. Yeah, try something different.
Yeah.
Throw that one out. Keep going. Keep trying to get at him, but don't use that one.
Right, and then they say, your parents wouldn't want you to kill him. Well, and Harry's response is perfect. Well, I'll never know because he killed him. I'll never know what my parents wanted because I've never been given the opportunity to learn that or, experience that. And that's, I don't know, it's heartbreaking again for him.
See, I look at that and I go, man, that's a really good comeback. He should use that a lot. I'll never know my parents are dead. I'll never know my parents are dead.
Oh, it's definitely,
I want you to, I don't know, my mom's dead.
Yeah, it still doesn't make it, it doesn't make it not sad. It's a great comeback for a depressing reason, because it's so true. And that's why it hits so hard. That's why it's such a good comeback.
True. So then they go see Hagrid. Do you have any thoughts on the trip to Hagrid?
Yeah, I like how because they mention it to him first. Like, what if we go see Hagrid? And then they both backpedal. They're like, maybe let's not do that because Harry's like, yeah, let's go talk to Hagrid. Another person that should have told me this already. Let's go do that. Let's go see him. Ask him why he never told me about Black. Again, it's he's
something
justified.
That you and I know and the readers know is that way back in chapter 1 of the very first book, we learned that Hagrid got the flying motorcycle from young Sirius Black. So
and they revisited that last chapter in the 3 broomsticks.
Right. So I agree. Let's go see Hagrid. Let's talk to that guy.
Yeah, let's talk to a first, a number one source.
There you go.
First person source right here. Someone who definitely knows. And I can call him out for it.
And we have proof gives me information, whether he wants to or not. Right.
Yeah, we have no problem leveling with him. Yeah. You know what? He's not going to get me in trouble for Eves, dropping some Eves.
I'm going to go drop a whole bunch of Eves right now.
Right.
Bring it on.
But then they get there and Hagrid's not in a good spot. It's
no.
So he must have just gotten, because this is all just a couple days later, or is this just the next day?
This is next day because it was the first day of Christmas break.
So this is, I guess, Sunday?
Sure. Anybody else think it's weird that they had a Hogsmeade trip and then everybody left?
On Christmas Eve?
I don't even think it's Christmas Eve yet. I think it's like the Hogsmeade trip might have been Christmas Eve, but wouldn't everybody have just gone home that day? Why did they wait until the next day? What was the point of the Hogsmeade trip? But that's a sidebar. Why wouldn't you have the Hogsmeade trip the last weekend and then you'd have another week of school? Why is it a Hogsmeade trip? Then they all disappear.
Maybe it just depends on the train schedule. Maybe the train hadn't been, it goes the next day or something. I don't.
Okay.
We don't know which day of the week they got out of class in 1993, December. Christmas was on Saturday.
That really throws a bunch of stuff off if the Hogsmeade trip was a Saturday.
Right.
They had a whole week off before?
I guess so.
All right.
But yeah, so he must have just gotten the note that, hey, guess what? You're not in trouble, but Buckbeak is. That's pretty rough. Poor Hagrid. Poor Buckbeak.
Poor Buckbeak.
Yeah.
It's kind of depressing.
That's one of those, it just feels like the deck is stacked against him here. There's just no way he can kind of win this.
And he knows it.
Yeah. To me, it feels a lot like, again, to use a Game of Thrones reference, so sorry, spoilers ahead. Nothing too huge, though. But about halfway through the first book, one of the direwolves gets killed. And it wasn't even for something that wolf did,
Right.
And it's because somebody had the vendetta to make that happen and had the power to do it, and everyone was helpless to stop it. And it just has that feeling to it now, looking back at it, that it's there's nothing he can do, and that stinks.
Yep, I'm with you. I do like the kids' response.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I definitely think it's, good on you kids for helping, offering to help Hagrid. That really is true friendship. The kids and the kids now have their winter project.
They have to have something to do.
Right.
And hang out there. Moaning Myrtle's bathroom was so last season.
Right. And with the polyjuice potion. And, yeah.
Been there, done that. Need something else. Well,
right. And Mirror Ever said was book 1. That was Harry's project.
Also true. See? Well, he was supposed to be finding Nicholas Flamel. So
I guess that was really the group's project.
True.
Also, in that conversation, we have Hagrid talking about being in Azkaban for the first time to the kids, and you can just tell it's affected him. Because he seems like a pretty tough guy overall, and if it's something that he's that adverse to, it really must be terrible. We've seen the Dementors, but I don't know, it just sounds even worse.
I would say in general, it sounds pretty horrible. You can't get there. Nobody visits. Dementors are ridiculous. I don't know. I wouldn't want to go.
Yeah, that definitely seems a little bit unusual. It seems like constant torture. Because
I guess my thought is though, if you're really that evil of a wizard, you definitely need. You can't put him in a normal prison.
But are there other normal wizard prisons? I guess is the question.
I think the point is there can't be. If you're that bad that you can't be in a Muggle prison,
I think they would keep him in.
I don't know.
Makes me think is that's maybe the maximum security prison, and there's.
Well, I guess my question is: do you really think that there's going to be white collar crime in the wizarding world that they would need
bank robbery? Yeah.
You wouldn't just throw them in Azkaban for that?
Doesn't seem quite nearly as bad as killing. It just doesn't. I don't.
They threw Hagrid in Azkaban without proof that he was doing anything.
But they thought that he was responsible for killing a girl 50 years ago and potentially trying to kill people this past year. I'm not justifying it, but it's not the same as bank robbery.
And I wonder if, maybe prison isn't their punishment. Maybe it's mind wiping or, having to spend time with Lockhart or something that is some sort of punishment.
Yeah, I don't know too much about the Wizarding Stock Exchange or anything. Maybe fraud's not that prevalent.
I feel like I need a little bit more research into magical law enforcement.
Yeah. No, I don't feel like we've gotten enough yet. We know a lot about the true criminal stuff a bit. Just somewhat familiar with it, but the other types,
yeah,
it's a lot of questions there.
I agree. Okay, so then we get to Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Harry gets a firebolt.
Yeah, what is that all about?
I don't know. I'm going to talk more about that in some questions that are on fire later.
Okay. Yeah, we'll kind of leave that alone.
I'm just saying, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'd say so. Given the best broom available twice in 3 years.
Right.
Someone's got some friends.
So book 5, we should look for another one. Oh, it's been 2 years. You need the fastest broom available.
I mean, that's the current trend.
Okay. I want to talk about Christmas dinner. Are you ready to talk about Christmas dinner?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a slight bone to pick with JK about her adjective usage.
Okay.
So something I've really noticed in this particular book, although it was present in the earlier books, I just wasn't noticing, was the use of physically descriptive adjectives that insert biases into her readers. So, Neville, the round-faced forgetful boy, and how then all of a sudden we have to think of round-faced people as forgetful or slow, and just those, and how they talked about Peter Pettigrew in the last chapter and all those kinds of things. Well, in this chapter, when we talk about going to the Christmas dinner and the other students that are there, and there's not very many, but one of them is the sullen Slytherin 5th year. And I think that was it adds to that Slytherin bias that we keep running into over and over again.
Yeah, it's not even just, the Slytherins we know. It's every Slytherin that gets mentioned has some kind of negative connotation in just the adjectives, like you're saying, and I don't know, it's very beating the horse.
Right. So the other students who are there, it says 2 extremely nervous looking first years. I'm fine with that because it doesn't add to anybody's bias on a house. Mm-hmm. And yes, I can see first years who are stuck at Hogwarts for Christmas with hardly anybody other than the famous Harry Potter and then all of these really fun teachers. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. But the sullen, it says, and a sullen faced Slytherin 5th year. Not even that he was acting sullen, but his face face was sullen, and the fact that he's a Slytherin, why couldn't it have been a sullen-faced Ravenclaw? I would think any fifth year, roughly 14, 15-year-old kid who's stuck at Hogwarts without any friends, regardless of house, is going to be pretty mopey and like moody teenagery.
Kind of gloomy or, sulky.
Yeah, like couldn't it have just been a sullen-faced fifth year?
Right.
Or, you know what I hate to say Riley's correct.
Oh, he's definitely correct. I mean,
But-
it's very, very prevalent in these
Yes.
books.
And it's very and I never noticed it before until his proud Slytherinness has been very apparent. And so here's another time that I think he was right. Oh, look, let's build up people's biases against the Slytherins.
to make a
with
clear
this.
group of enemies, just to have a batch of people that I can point at and be like, well, this is what we're working against. It's a little
Right.
cop-out-ish. It's a little too easy sometimes.
Yeah, and I don't think it's very fair to just dedicate a whole house. Now, I will say for the most part, I mean, if this was any other kids' book series, there would be absolutely no question. They would all be bad. They would just be terrible. And it's a little more subtle on her part, but it's still there. They're still meant to be the bad guys.
And I do think it's worth noting that in the time period of these books and like for the history, the recent history with Voldemort and everything, like, you know, all of his followers, that they're saying that all of them came from Slytherins. You would think if house partnership, you know, which house you follow, it's somewhat hereditary, it seems like. So
Yes.
I think there's just connections at this specific time period, maybe a little bit more generally bad people,
I agree.
guess. But I definitely think it's overdone for every single Slytherin to always have a negative connotation.
Right. Wouldn't it have been nice to have one like relatively
Just decent bloke. Just like,
Yeah.
oh, there's Tim. Slytherin, he's fine.
Slytherin Tim? You know, I'm not going to eat lunch with him, but I could
Slytherin
totally
Sam.
like.
Come on, Slytherin Sam. You're
Slytherin Sam.
Slytherin Sam. That guy's awesome. Cool guy. I'm all right with
Yeah,
him.
like I could totally chop up some flower worms for you to put in your potion, man. I got you.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Sam. You're a good guy.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. One of my favorite moments in this whole book is Dumbledore drawing the chair.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. It comes back to that same kind of what did I call conjuring magic that we saw with the sleeping bags.
Yes.
Where I think we had some good questions on how did he actually do that. I don't feel like it's a summoning. I feel like he is conjuring it. He's drawing it. He's creating it out of thin air, which, you know, he's pretty good at transfiguration. So I still think there's potential. He's just, you know, whipping it up out of tiny air particles.
Because matter can neither be created nor destroyed, but it can be changed forms.
Exactly.
So he's changing literally the forms of the air particles into the solid of a chair by drawing it. He's literally drawing the part. It's so cool.
It is very cool.
According to Marvel and the Thor movies, magic is just science we don't understand.
Yeah, that's a pretty common science fiction quote.
I know, but I like quoting Marvel and it makes me happy. And, you know, I have a movie coming out in a few weeks, so very excited about. I mean, I'm not in it, I guess, but everybody else and their brother is. So I'm very excited. All right, here's my random next thought. Two more. Minerva McGonagall is the queen of snark.
Oh, yeah.
In this chapter, particularly when talking to Sybil Trelawney.
Mm-hmm.
So one of my favorite moments is this. When they're talking about Lupin and Lupin being ill. And McGonagall says, but surely you already knew that, Sybil. And then we get to the part about, certainly I knew that, she said quietly, but one does not parade the fact that one is all-knowing. I frequently act as though I am not possessed of the inner eye, so as not to make others nervous. That explains a great deal, said Professor McGonagall tartly. Professor Trelawney's voice suddenly became a good deal less misty. If you must know, Minerva, I have seen that poor Professor Lupin will not be with us for very long. He seems aware himself that his time is short. He positively fled when I offered to crystal gaze for him. Imagine that, said Professor McGonagall dryly. And then they get cut off by Dumbledore because, you know, you have to keep the girls calm. But I love the comebacks from McGonagall. Oh, that explains a lot. Surely you already knew. Just like she's just snapping them right at Trelawney, who's trying to answer them. And McGonagall's like, whatever, you're full of baloney and I don't believe you.
Yeah, my favorite part of that was right when she gets to the table and Dumbledore invites her to sit down, and it's right after he draws the chair. And she says, "I dare not, headmaster. If I join the table, we shall be 13. Nothing could be more unlucky. Never forget that when 13 dine together, the first to rise will be the first to die." "We'll risk it, Sybil," said Professor McGonagall impatiently. "Do sit down. The turkey's getting stone cold." I just love it. "We'll risk it." Like, it's fine. Don't care.
That's the same sentiment as she did earlier in the book, where it's like, rest assured, if you die, you need not turn in your own work.
Oh, yeah. She's been bumped up in her snark this book, too.
Oh, yeah. Except I like that her snark is directed at another adult and not one of the students.
Oh, yeah. Kind of like Snape's is. His is also at another adult sometimes, but...
True, but his is at an adult I like.
Yeah,
so right. Then it's a problem. Although really, they are having the same kind of reaction. You're somebody that is around that drives me insane, and I have to be nice-ish, but not really. So I'm going to try and snark my way into making them know.
Yeah. So one more thing at the dinner that I wanted to talk about was the teachers spending the holidays at the school. Do you think any of the teachers have families, or is this just like a select group? You know, like the heads of houses that are almost obligated to stay, so it kind of doesn't matter. They're just there. They take time off later. We don't hear about, or...
Well, there has to be somebody there.
Right. We know there's 13 plus.
And 6 of them are students.
Right.
Well, there's 13. 6 of them are students. That leaves us with 7 adults. 1 is Trelawney. 1 is Filch. And in my head, Filch does not have a family and lives in the castle. That's just... Is it a glitter shedding cat?
Probably not.
Okay, well, that makes me sad for him. Then you've got Dumbledore, McGonagall, Snape, Sprout, and Flitwick. So it's not everybody.
But
it's
seems
not
to be the heads of houses.
It is the heads of houses. So I wonder, do they each have like somebody from their house there? Because McGonagall's got the 3 Gryffindors. Snape's got the sullen-faced Slytherin. There's 2 first years. Do you think
it could split? Yeah,
it could split. You know, maybe that's it. Like, you have to stay if there's whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like maybe they're almost obligated just because. But I don't know. It definitely opens up the question, like, do some of these teachers have families? Do they have a home somewhere else? We just don't really get that information here.
I feel like that was maybe not thought about in this moment. It was really, I just need 13 people. And it might have been easier to just have more kids, like, random kids there. And it just be like McGonagall, Trelawney, Dumbledore, and Filch. You could have easily accomplished all of these things without. I mean, I would assume Lupin doesn't. They said he's sick again, but
he is there. It sounds like he's at least in the castle.
Yes. So I don't know. I don't really have an answer. I don't really think any of them do, because I'd be pretty mad if, my family couldn't be there for Christmas because of 6 students.
Well, I guess we'll have to keep our eyes out and see if there's
Okay. All right. Can I talk about Sir Cadogan?
Yeah, that's where I was going to go next too. Go for it.
He has friends.
Yeah, he does.
How?
He's a popular guy. That's why, because he's a hoot and holler and good time. That's what I think.
I totally get the partying portraits. I think that's fine, because remember the fat lady used to drink with her buddy?
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. And I'm fine with them. Like, you have to come to my house because, like, I got this thing I got to stay home for. I get it. Like, the fat lady always had people come to her portraits. She couldn't go visiting others because she's got a job, right? I have to be here.
Is that her?
I think so.
I think it is.
Because, like, she's giving the password and Vi's like, what? No, honey, that's just the password. It's fine.
Right.
But I can't get over people like Sir Cadogan enough to go hang out with him. Like, not just including him in their party, they have to go to him and his portrait. So I find that very unbelievable of all the magic things going on.
No, I think
Cadogan having friends seems weird.
No, come on, he seems like a fun guy.
He seems annoying. I would not be his friend.
Well, clearly me and Riley were fans of him, so he's just not your drink, not your glass of water.
No, definitely not. So I guess that's the question of the day, right? Would you be Sir Cadogan's friend?
I would. I think he sounds
fun.
Won't
you be? Please, won't you be? Please, won't you be my neighbor?
Portrait neighbor.
Oh, Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, I think he sounds fun.
Okay.
But I definitely thought it was kind of cool that they had the partying portraits and he was clearly having a good time. And I don't know, it was just funny because he was like, "Oh, Merry Christmas." He was jovial and jolly, and I liked it. Hey, Melissa.
Yeah, what? Yes.
Do you have any fire-bolting questions for him?
I do. Here we go. Question 1. How does Lucius Malfoy also have so much power to exert over the Disposal of Magical Creatures Committee?
Well, we already know that he had ins with the school governors, as he was one.
Right.
And seems to, whenever he showed up last book at Hagrid's hut, he seemed to know the minister as well, Cornelius. So I'm thinking he's got his tendrils kind of in, because he's clearly a rich person. I think he's the kind of guy that is all about making friends and making sure those friends are the right friends, making sure those right friends are in the right places.
Mm-hmm.
So it might not be that he has power specifically in the magical creatures key, but could almost be like whoever that committee responds to, you know, or is, I don't know. I feel like he's just going to have influence from top down and because of your donations.
That's what I was wondering.
Gotcha. Political influence, which means money.
See, that bothers me because that's not in the best interest of everybody. That's in the best interest of Lucius Malfoy.
Right. That's how politics. Very frustrating.
And yeah.
Podcast that doesn't like, but likes Accio-politics.
So for more information on the politics of power in the wizarding world, which they may or may not have covered yet, but I'm sure they will. Hey, take this as a suggestion. Please listen to our friends at Accio-politics.
Checking to see what chapter I'm pretty sure they did. Yep. Number 17. Politics of Power.
Oh, they just did it. It came out last week.
No. 17 of book 1.
Okay.
So, Man with Two Faces. Adrian and Aaron discuss the difference between power and empowerment in chapter 17. So there you go. Check them out.
All right.
Good stuff. Next question.
What do you think is the registration number for Harry's new firebolt?
Good.
Because we know that every firebolt,
yes,
has a registration number. What number do you think he got?
Well, we know the Irish national squad had put in orders for theirs before the year started.
Do you think they had made any beyond the
prototype that was in the store?
Yes.
Or the promo one?
Yes.
I would think so. At least prototypes, that they probably sold off later, but I don't think that there were any being sold at that point.
Okay.
So I'm thinking the Irish National Squad is, to say they're, 1 through 7?
Maybe with 2 backup people, so...
Right.
Let's go 1 through 8.
I would say a couple... I mean, this is also Christmas, so it's been 7 months. I'd almost think they're in production now. Still going to be unattainable for almost anybody. Like, for how astronomically it seems like it was priced
But at the same time, like, who's their target audience? Like, who's their demographic that they're trying to sell to? Are they selling to the rich old men trying to relive their Quidditch glory days? Are they
like the Ferrari, where it's you can't afford this until you don't, or until you probably won't enjoy it as much as you would have if you could have had it.
It's not going to do you much good driving to soccer practice,
right? Yeah, no, that's funny.
I would think, or is it specifically marketed to professional teams?
I think so. I think it's the elite professional grade of racing brooms, which we haven't heard much about, like actual broom racing, other than it's a thing because they're all called racing brooms. They're not called Quidditch brooms. They're called racing.
That's true. That's true.
So I would think there's, a Wizard Grand Prix somewhere, which would be really
fun
to see. That would be exciting.
Yeah.
That's like the Red Bull plane races, if you've ever seen those. Those are really neat. But I definitely think it's supposed to go to the world-class Quidditch teams.
Okay.
So I'd imagine many have been sold, at least to like the top dollar private teams. And maybe some of the national squads. Probably not all of them, because it seems price prohibitive. But I'm going to say that Harry's is number 111.
I was going to go with 128.
I guess I should say 111. Sorry.
111.
That's a dildo.
Oh, he's so funny. Okay, good. Do you agree or disagree that Hermione should have reported the firebolt to McGonagall?
As the boys, no. Absolutely not. It's none of her business. Like, no, I get it. Like, it is the right answer. Like, she does the right thing. I can definitely see how they're extremely frustrated about it. I mean, there's literally nothing cooler that could have just shown up out of nowhere,
it showed up out of nowhere,
which makes her even more right. I know. That's why that's getting to my real answer of she is correct and she should have.
See, here's the thing. I don't know.
I don't really know, but I
Like,
can justify it in her head.
Like Hermione's answer. Yeah. Hermione's answer is the like textbook. Yes, that's exactly what I would do. Being a good person answer. But I really don't know if that's what I would really do. I don't know
Also,
if
have a crazy serial killer after you. Different.
Oh, that's true.
And
You're
that's
right.
exactly where she's coming from. It's exactly where McGonagall's.
Okay.
I mean, that is exactly the reason that they end up going through with it.
I guess my thought was nobody really questioned the invisibility cloak, and nobody really questioned where he got the nimbus from, and nobody really questioned.
Both came probably either from Dumbledore or with his permission.
But they didn't know that, and they didn't ask.
Oh, like her, well, they weren't really friends with her. Well, I guess no, they really weren't, were they?
Well, yes, they were. It was at Christmas for the invisibility cloak, and granted, she wasn't there.
I was thinking more.
And
of
there was a
Nimbus.
and there was a note, but it wasn't signed. And for the Nimbus, I always assumed that they took money out of his vault to pay for that, but we never knew for sure. So I just nobody ever questioned any of those. So why all of a sudden? I mean, what would the big deal be? But again, I get it. Serial killer. All right, you win.
I'm also still, building up my crackpot theory of the alumni fund for Quidditch. I'm still working on it.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna get there. All right. Question 4. Do you think that Professor Trelawney, I'm going to say that word again because it didn't come out right, Professor Trelawney, could have asked about Professor Lupin and even came down to Christmas dinner just to see him? Like, she came down to Christmas dinner and one of her very first things is, oh, Professor Lupin isn't here?
Oh, like maybe has a little crush on him?
Like a little case of the Lupin? Yeah.
Okay. Loopy for Lupin. Okay.
She who never deigns to bring herself.
Why would she be down here and why would she notice that first?
Right.
All right. I could get on board with this.
This is my new crackpot theory.
Okay.
Yes.
Was she wearing anything specific that was... well, she's always flashy and flaunty, but was there anything like that she was wearing that maybe gives even more indication?
Yes. She had put on a green sequins dress in honor of the occasion, making her look more than ever like a glittering, oversized dragonfly.
I mean, you're going to get noticed with that.
Right. She comes in and says, I had been crystal gazing, and to my astonishment, I saw myself abandoning my solitary luncheon and coming to join you. Who am I to refuse the promptings of fate? I at once hastened from my tower, and I do beg you forgive my lateness. And then, she freaks out about 13. And and McGonagall's like, dude, sit down. You're fine. She sits down, opens her eyes, because apparently her eyes were closed after the whole, 13 thing. Sits down, opens her eyes and says, but where is dear Professor Lupin?
Looked around once more, like she double checked. Right? Like,
Looked around once more and said, but where is dear Professor Lupin? He got sick again. Surely you already knew that, Sybil. And yeah.
So, fans, if you haven't heard this before, you've heard it here first. It's the first I've heard of it, for sure.
Trelawney might have a little case of the Remus, so it'll be fine. It just hit me as I was reading it this last time. I'm like, is that what got her out of the tower?
I find that fascinating. We'll have to see where this goes. A budding relationship.
Well, now he did run from her crystal gazing, so it might be more one-sided, but
we'll see. Love finds a way sometimes.
Only not with, glitter shedding cats. Okay.
Not in my household.
Question 5. Who gave Harry the firebolt?
The alumni fund. Okay.
Yes.
Yep, there it is.
Yes. No, I really think it's the alumni fund.
It's gotta be, right? I mean, come on.
Except that McGonagall took it. I feel like she would know about the alumni fund.
I would think so. But maybe Oliver wrote them a special letter. I don't know.
Oh, it would be Oliver, wouldn't it?
Right? I mean, he's the one.
Would in it.
It would.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, so I'm thinking alumni fund because we have no indication that's against the rules and no indication that, it seems reasonable that would be a thing. Like, hey, I played 50 years ago and I'm doing pretty well. I give money back to the school specifically for this. Makes sense to me. Hey, how do you make your Quidditch team better? Give them nice brooms. That's the easiest thing you can do. There's not a whole lot of other equipment you can change. There's standard balls. You know, you're not going to be able to change out and give him a fancier snitch, you know, or an easier to no, you don't have control over that.
Right.
And it seems like, I guess you could do the uniforms as well, the robes, say.
Or like special gloves or
right.
headgear.
I mean, that's going to be the number one thing you can, or, you know, the beater's bats, or, you know,
True.
things like
Especially
that.
if you hear that what happened to the current Seeker's
The
broom.
famous Harry Potter, who's your
Right.
even easier sell on that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm all in on this one.
Well, I know who it wasn't.
Who not?
It wasn't the Dursleys.
Right.
As Harry points out, very funny, might I add this line. Well, said Harry, feeling stunned, I'm betting it wasn't the Dursleys. It was just very like, not those guys.
Yeah. I thought it was also funny when Ron was like, do you think it could have been Lupin? He really likes you. And Harry was like, you think if he could afford that, he would buy himself some clothes that aren't so ratty? Like,
And a better ride to Hogwarts.
Come on, Ron.
Right.
I could say more, but I'll refrain.
But at the same time, like, Ron's perspective of people with money is probably very skewed because when you don't have any money, everybody looks like they have money compared to you.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
You know.
And he's definitely right on. If Lupin could, he, you know, it seems like from Ron's perspective that he would, you know, if he could help, might. But I don't know. That's extreme.
All right. True. You get him a good Comet 360 or 120 or 972. I don't
keep saying numbers. Yeah, those are all models.
A shooting star version A.
Silver Arrow. We'll get there.
All right.
All right, let's get into our chapter, Superlatives. So, what was your favorite line?
So, this was in Hagrid's hut, and Ron says, shall I make a cup of tea? Said Ron. Harry stared at him. It's what my mom does whenever someone is upset, Ron muttered, shrugging. I thought it was just so funny. He's like, I'll make you some tea. And they're all like, what the tea? And he's like, this is what my mom does. Like, I don't know how it helps, but apparently that's what you do when people are upset. We're going to make them some tea.
It's reasonable. You know, and again, he's trying here. You know, if that's how you grow up, yeah. And I don't know, it doesn't seem that weird to me, especially how much the British drink tea. Like, it's a thing. It doesn't seem odd to me. Like, hey,
I don't find it odd. I find it, I just like his reaction of like, but that's what my mom does. Like, but it's just what you do. That's how you take care of people. You make them tea.
Right. Yeah, that's why I find it odd that like Harry's response is like so. I guess maybe he's just never gotten the sympathy, so he never would have seen it firsthand.
Let's think about Harry.
Right? Yeah. We don't see Hermione's. We don't see Hermione's response. She was probably like, "Yeah, let's put the kettle on." She was already doing it.
Hermione had already made the tea. Right. She'd whipped it up. She'd drawn some teacups out of the air. She'd gotten some sugar cubes. Fire. Opened up the sugar bowl that she found in its hiding place and was able to get them everything ready to go.
All right. Well, I'm with you.
All right. What was your favorite line?
You're going to take Malfoy's advice instead of ours, said Ron furiously. This is a very odd choice, I know, but it's definitely this point of contention between the two of Ron and Hermione versus Harry is a very interesting spot relationship-wise, I think, because it's very, very deeply personal to Harry, and they're trying to figure him out. You know, it's a big friendship character building moment, and I kind of agree with Harry here. You know, I feel like Malfoy was kind of understood who Harry really is, more so than what Ron and Hermione are trying to sculpt him into. You know, I think they realize it, but it's interesting that Malfoy, I think, was right previously.
I don't think Malfoy was right. I think Malfoy was trying to egg him on. Well, and now that Harry knows why, he's like, oh yeah, I got to do that. No, you don't have to do that. And as good friends, they're going to try and stop him. But I see your point.
Yeah, I just thought it's very interesting to see the contention in the group more than anything else.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, who was your chapter MVP?
I would say it would be Ron because he played the good sidekick. He made tea. He tried to keep his friend from doing something dumb. He got excited at all the right points in the firebolt. He and Harry stood at the same time after dinner, and so they're going to die together. So I feel like he makes a good MVP for this chapter.
I agree. Other than that, I think it was a little bit tough. There wasn't a whole lot of standouts. Berlani was kind of funny, but as the butt of the joke, not really herself.
Right, no.
I don't really like what Hermione did in the long run, so I'm going to go against her on this one. And I'm going to give it to a character that's got a pretty big caveat on it for the same reason I didn't give it to Hermione. For Professor McGonagall, she's going to get my honorable mention, and that is mainly due to the Queen of Snark at the Christmas dinner.
Good call.
And not for taking the firebolt away at the end.
In her defense, though, it makes a lot more sense for the adult to agree to taking the firebolt than another kid sort of like betraying her friends.
Yeah, and that's why it's definitely a caveat, but it's not nearly as heinous
bad as
in
what
friendship,
Hermione did.
Right?
Although, I mean, Hermione was right.
But as a friend, it's
not
kind of thing.
But that goes back to Hermione's like inability to not say something.
Yeah, which definitely takes a certain kind of bravery to that, you know. And
it does, but it doesn't give you the chapter MVP.
And that's what counts in this show. That's what counts. No honorable mention.
No honorable mention for you. One chapter.
One chapter.
How many different things can I reference in one episode so far? I've gotten The Hobbit. I've got the series of unfortunate events. We've got Seinfeld. We did Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that's right.
We threw in another podcast to shout out.
True. Man,
I feel like this has been a successful episode.
Nice chapter.
Air 5.
Air 5.
Nice.
All right, let's wrap it up.
And on that note, we are out. We have places where you can find us. You have heard the places. We're all Not Named Everywhere. Not Named Podcast is our Twitter handle. You can email us at thepodcastthat@gmail.com. You can find us online at thepodcastthat.com. All of those places. You can leave us your notes, your comments. Tell us what you think about Sir Cadogan, because I'm telling you, that guy's annoying.
Greatest. Him and
annoying.
Him and Smarmy. Eat your last year. What up, art?
I would be really interested in any fan art of glitter shedding cats that I could give to Luke. That would be phenomenal. I feel like we need to make that his profile picture on Twitter. So that would be fabulous if somebody could get me a copy of that. You can email us that picture. You can share it on Twitter and tag us in it. Seriously, that would be like the best thing ever for my brother here. He would be so happy. Mm-hmm. In the meanwhile, you can also subscribe and rate us on iTunes, where you can leave us as many stars as you think we are worth. We appreciate any reviews that you give us. It goes a long way to getting our show out there to millions of other people who aren't listening. So all the millions of people who aren't listening and probably should be, need your help sharing it with your friends.
They're just sad and they don't really know why yet. But they'll realize it. You know, episode 1. So this is what I've been missing.
That's right.
And they can join the Imaginary Legion
and send me a glitter shedding cat for Luke.
Right, millions of them. Special thank you to Mel for our imaginary summary this chapter. Thank you very much. Great work.
Join us next week when we discuss chapter number 12,
the Patronus. Stay imaginary.
Thanks.